All right, welcome back after a break. And, whew, goodness, thank you, Jackie, for that wonderful compliment, and to all of us as we co-create this family that's like this critical seed crystal of imaginal cells coming together and saying, all right, together we can figure this out. Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like in my meditation, like this time of Dos Equis, like I said, this where the world was forced to be quiet and sit still and join in the meditation involuntarily, because meditation is happening all the time. We just join in on it. They were forced to join in on it because they weren't doing it themselves. You know, a mother says, you know, you're not gonna listen, go do it. We're being forced, but those we imaginal cells that already responded to the call, already awakening, her vibration and her call during this time, we're in tune with it. We're in tune with it, and we're calibrating to her during this meditation, during this global meditation. And I think that's our jobs as the imaginal selves, is to take the opportunity that there's a global meditation, but we that have awakened are more in tune with it, to recalibrate ourselves to this call and this mission. So as we come out of it, we're reinforced and we're stronger and we're clear to go do this. And it's what's happening right now. And it's so exciting.
Wow. Wow.
Well, I have to agree there anyway with what you said earlier on, even before we recorded. Like, it is a surreal experience, like to feel so close and connected to people, even though you've never met them as in person or whatever. But like, even when I couldn't get my phone sorted there out today, I wasn't annoyed about the fact that I couldn't get my phone sorted. Or it was mostly about the fact that of all the days, I was going to miss out on my time spending with yourselves. Like, so, you know what I mean? It's become, you know, an important part of my week to be, you know, it's like joining a family for the day. Like, you know what I mean? It's part of like the lockdown. Oh, I get to see the family today. You know, in that sense. Like, so definitely it is surreal. All right, that's about the only word I can put in it as well. Definitely.
It's like Sunday dinner, you know, you wait all week and then everybody comes together Sunday night, everybody meets at mom's house, we all have Sunday dinner together. I said that's what it feels like the ideas come in like, oh, Friday, we'll talk about that Friday, and we just, everybody gets together. And James, I'm telling you, your absence was very, very like tangible. It was just like, oh, like our brother's not here. Like one of us is missing. So you were really missed. And so when you come out too, it's like this is the vacuum. And you come back in, it's like, oh, everybody's back.
Yeah, definitely. I suppose likewise. I just felt annoyed all day, you know, because I knew I should have been on this, like, I'm with you, like, and that was what I was most upset about, like, so, definitely. I think I think my week wouldn't have went normal if I didn't, you know, participate in it, like, anymore, you know what I mean? So, you know, it's, but all for the best of reasons, like, you know what I mean? It brings me, as I said, even though today I'm missing the divine feminine, like, because I do feel like I come away with spiritual nourishment from that every time, like, but every week from the block party, and I come away feeling, you know, that, you know, the whole week wasn't wasted. Something has been achieved anyway, like, regardless of how fucking shitty everything else seems, someone's on the fucking game anyway, like, sorry for the language. Go on, sorry, I'll tune out a second, I'm going to get another cup of tea.
Sure.
And Melvin's back.
All right, Melvin, brother, welcome back. We're recording. You're on mute, Melvin. You're on mute, and we are recording.
Yeah, I'm back, and I have to head out again. I'm headed to my daughter's. We got I have a mechanic friend, and he has to do some check out her car, and we're gonna have to leave the car there, and I'm gonna have to give her a ride home. But it's good to see you, Sister Jackie.
I tell you, we've been working on this for months on a local level, and feel like we're so close to taking all that work, all our meetings, all our conversations, and it's like right here. Everything we've talked about, Melvin, helping our communities, being that agency, you know, showing people the truth. Like, we have to do this. We have no choice. And it's like right here. We're about to launch everything our hearts have wanted all this time. It's just amazing. It's just amazing.
It is. It is. It's a bold endeavor, and it's one that's really been thought out with a lot of different ideas, and it's been shaped and formed as we go along. The strategy, for doing this here. One of the things we were talking about earlier is maybe doing this on different fronts at the same time. You know, why not? I mean, if we got the capacity, and the people like Maya said, you, myself, and Silas, we here. We got the Navajo reservation. I mean, we still working out the logistics of this here. But I think one thing that came through very clearly is that whatever we do, it has to be grassroots, and the people there in the community has to run with it. Because we don't have any credibility going into Brooklyn. you know, but there are people with credibility. So we talking about hooking up with them. Co-creating, collaborating with them on the Navajo reservation, co-creating, collaborating with them, because it's the only way this can really take off is that the people in the community who have been most affected by it take a hold of it, embrace it, and claim it. It's theirs. And then, like you said, we could step back and watch them run. We did our job. We could watch them run.
You know what? And that's, to me, that's the divine feminine. It's the education, it's the nourishment, and it's the nurturing, and then it's the allowing the being to take root and just manifest themselves. So they don't have to be mirrors of us. We just have to be mirrors of the intention and the effort. And then they create their communities beautifully. That's what diversity is about. Their uniqueness contributing to the world instead of dividing us. It's all diversity of contribution to the whole. And if we can just, be loving and caring and nurturing to these communities, and then step back and just watch them, evolve into these beautiful communities, then we can just keep going. That, to me, that's the divine feminine.
Mm-hmm. Trusting in the process to know that they're just as bright as anybody. They can do this here, that they can do it. We've just been, like one of the things that Silesh and Will and Shelly did for me, and also Jamen, they pointed me in a direction. They gave me a story to tell. Like, I never knew about the heat, the cooling of the earth. What is it?
SRM.
I mean, that's the story we have to tell. I mean, that's so simple. I mean, that's supposed to be the story we're supposed to be telling. So they gave me this story to tell, and I think if we give them a story to tell that's really comprehensive and whole system approach, that they'll see the value in it. I have a friend. She's really bright, really sharp. This woman is so sharp that if I say something that's not on spot, she don't say, "Oh, that's stupid." She just say something that's sharper, that's brighter, that's better, and I have to acknowledge it. She just put out another narrative. I said, wow, that's right. And I think that the people we're going to be working with, we're going to co-create, we're going to collaborate. When they hear our narrative, I think they're going to say, wow, that's a good story. Let's run with that. That's a good story, because they're very intelligent people. They're committed. They've been doing this work in Brooklyn for years before we came along. You got farmers market, you got grassroots organization, you got people growing their own food, you got people fighting against injustice and food pantry. They've been doing this for years. So once we show them this model, what we talking about, and co-create these, wow, that's a better idea. Let's just check that. I just have that faith that that's what's going to happen once we put it out there to the universe.
Yeah, exactly. And we've been working on the narrative for the last few hours here.
Wow.
And
So
pardon me?
I missed a lot.
Yeah, well, here let's recap it for you. And we're
Yeah.
recording. We're recording, so that's a good thing. So, and just jump in, everybody, on the recap. But basically, we're talking about creating a community of communities centered around food. And we're calling the communities, the member communities, feeder communities, because they're feeding people, right? So if you're, small local neighborhood community with a community garden and whatnot, and you're sharing food around, whatever, you're a feeder community, period. And so we're creating essentially a network of these feeder communities that spans the entire globe, right? And our power, our strength, our vitality, our creativity, our intelligence will all be in the network. And then that way, if you need something, let's say you need, you want to figure out how to do a rainwater catchment system from your roof, and how do I do that, and how do I filter it, and what kind of germs or whatever is it going to pick up on the roof, or bird poop or whatever, and how do I deal with that? Well, here's a do-it-yourself way to capture the water and filter it and all that, and whatever, right? Similar for indoor hydroponics, rooftop gardens, you name it, for whatever climate, for whatever kind of food you're trying to produce. And so there will be all this sharing of expertise and sharing of information, but not just, like these websites, you kind of, you're going through, you're digging, and it's like your eyes are becoming like jello, bleh, and you're just like, no, you want to be talking with someone. You want to be plugged in. You want to be talking with someone, and in the right community, in the right meeting. And the good news is, because food is something that's so universal, right? The last time I checked, there are 24 billion meals per day which need to be served, and not all of those are being served, and that's a problem that we're going to solve. So, but everybody's on it, right? 3 times a day, and so it's something where, with such an intensity of focus on it, and now that we're entering times of food insecurity, it just makes all the sense in the world, whoosh, for us to come together as a network and become collectively very, very, very intelligent as regards growing and distributing food and making sure everyone has plenty to eat, no matter what it takes. We're not going to back down from that goal one notch. There's not one child who I'm willing to let starve. Not one, anywhere in the world. I don't care. There's no excuse. No excuse. Right?
True that be.
And there's some military, strong man somewhere in Africa who's stealing the food from the people. Well, send in the military. That's what we need military for, right? Not to mess with Iran or North Korea or anyone. But, if anyone's preventing people from eating, we got to go deal with that, right? And there will be stiff penalties for anyone participating in that. I mean, this is the new world order. Not to use a previous usage of that term, but this is a world order, a planetary order. Let's call it a planetary order. And so, we kind of envision the achievement of this network, this community of communities, in, as an evolution with stages. And in an early stage, this isn't the whole of it, this is just kind of an early stage, right, of its evolution, is just building this network and just sharing and exchanging information, and knowledge and expertise and all that, you know, hey, I've got this engineering problem over here. How do I solve it? Hey, I got to figure out what variety of pumpkin I should be growing here, whatever. Okay, boom. You know, get your advice. Hey, how do I improve my soil so that I get better results, et cetera, right? And, you know, all the way up to the much bigger picture questions of what's the best overall strategy for the whole world so that we ensure everyone has enough to eat, right? At which point I would be the hyperactive 10-year-old in the front row going, ooh, 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 teacher, ooh, ooh. And I'd say, you know, let's build a planetary collective intelligence and organize ourselves and, you know, capture everything that's said and hashtag everything that needs to be, you know, tagged, and, you know, create the capabilities to search through the transcripts and to find those conversations that you really want to plug into, right? And the beautiful thing is we all have feeding others in common, right?
Mm-hmm.
We all are either feeding others or want to feed others or love to feed others or whatever, but that's what brings us all together. And, you know, one thing that's interesting is, you know, how do we deal with, you know, the food banks and whatnot who are not vegan, right? Who are not plant-based. You know, we need to have a kind of a gentle approach and saying that, you know, this is our approach, and, you know, as the organizers of this, and, you know, and here's our reasons why. And having said that, you know, we invite communities, even non, you know, vegan communities are welcome, right? Because it's the right thing to do, I think. Look, if you're feeding people, you're committed to feeding people, and you're pre-vegan, right? Anyway, go ahead, Jackie.
I was just thinking that we have to be we have to be that story. We have to embody the new story. We have to be these superheroes. The imaginal selves are the superheroes. We have all felt different. We've all grown up feeling like separate. We didn't think the same way. People didn't understand us. There's a reason why. There's a reason why, because we are those imaginal selves. We were a little different. We did vibrate at a different frequency. We did come in a little more resistant to the prescriptions and the mind control. We were somewhat resistant to that. And I think deep down, we all know that, and we feel that our hearts were never stifled as much as other people, and we were not as controllable as other people. So let's embody that. Let's embody that story, this story that we're creating for humanity. We can only make them see it. They can only see it if they believe it, that it's our truth. So those pre-vegans, we have to reflect back that we believe in you. We're here for no other reason because we love you so much. We cannot be in truth. We cannot tell you the truth. This is not about judgment. We're inviting you because I believe that you don't know enough. Your heart is telling you want to feed people. Your heart is telling you you don't want people to suffer. But you don't know enough to literally do the best for humanity. And this is what we're here to show you, that we believe in what you're doing, and we believe we can do better together. So it's got to be radically inclusive without any judgment, and believing in people and embodying this truth of this new story of humanity. We have to be that new story, unapologetically, and defending truth until the death. That's what we have to do. We don't have a choice, and we don't have time.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. So, you know, be this network among all the feeder communities to connect with each other on all these different topics. And, you know, just like we brought together Alan Savory and Dr. Silas Rao, and that's not to say that we couldn't have done that better. I think there was probably a better way to frame that and better context to create and all that, but that's all the good learning experience. But likewise, you know, if someone wants to have a conversation in the network about nutrition and, you know, is vegan, you know, do I get all my nutritional requirements? And, you know, if someone wants to challenge that, let them, you know, respectfully challenge that in conversation, right? I think that's the spirit, right? Because, you know, because that way we're clear where we're coming from, the founders of Food Healers, right? And this is who we are, this is where we're coming from, and we're inviting all feeder communities into the conversation, regardless of diet, of religion, of anything, culture, anything like that. Please join us, because we all have the same goal, we all have the same vision, everyone being well nourished, everyone being well. And we're in particularly hard times right now because we've got pandemic, exponential planetary overheating, right? Economic collapse. We have all these things happening simultaneously that we need to really come together in a new way with a new level of cohesiveness, of unity, of togetherness, of creating a planetary community of feeders, right? Which will become probably the most popular community with the greatest membership, right? Because you're either a feeder or you're getting fed by a feeder. Let's face it. And so you're either a feeder or you love a feeder dearly. And so either way, you definitely support the feeders. Everyone supports the feeders. It's like, duh, right? And so it becomes this, you know, this network of feeders. Just that's the shared mission, right? And again, this is where we stand, right? We're both very. I don't think firm is the right word, but you know, we're resolute. We know ourselves. We're in the age of knowing, as Myra and Jackie keep saying, right? We know. And this is where we stand, and that's this. And anyway, we just get really clear with ourselves and with the world about what's up, and we're building this network, and we are committed to, here's what we're committed to, that everyone has plenty to eat, and that we can continue far into the future, right? As not just as a species, but as life on Earth, with all the diversity that we have. But very likely with whole new models for food production and distribution. Definitely a lot more local, a lot more backyard gardens, rooftop gardens, windowsill gardens, indoor hydroponics, et cetera, et cetera. Definitely a lot more of that, a lot more community gardens, and a lot more sharing, and a lot more volunteering. The reality is, whether it's happy or sad is irrelevant. The reality is that the market economy is failing, right? Heavily precipitated by pandemic, the current pandemic, but you know, also by other factors, including exponential climate change. And you know, just imagine two different games. One game is, okay, how do we figure out how to take all this food that's being grown and get it to all the people? Okay, that's one kind of game, and that has, you know, different solutions and all that. Okay, very solvable. Now consider a second game where it's like, okay, yes, definitely distribute food to people, but when you deliver them food, you got to get these tokens from them. Huh? Okay, and does everyone have tokens? No, not everyone has tokens. Well, then how do I give food to someone who doesn't have tokens? Well, you don't, so we got to find out ways to get tokens to these people. It's like, what? Can we just forget the damn tokens, go back to the original game and just deliver the food? Right? You with me? I mean, it's so simple. Up until now, food's been under lock and key. No money, no food for you. And it's just like, what? Right? This should be a basic human right where we all pull together and do it. Look, just like every community pulls together and has a fire department. Here we live in a small rural community, so it's a volunteer fire department, right? But one way or another, there's fire department, there's police protection, there's this, there's that, there's this, there's that. There's so many basic things that are just provided to the community. Why should food not be one of those? Food's the most important. Anyway, so we make that stance very clear and that vision clear. And we say, now, as to the details as to how, obviously that's up to every local community. And we're creating here kind of like a potluck of ideas and models and solutions. And, you know, how are you doing it? How are you finding the right balance between food grown in people's homes? See, they're in Cork City, Ireland, as James mentioned, he's mentioned it before. So this isn't personal information, but he's got gardens front and back, right? That's awesome. And he's able to grow, you know, 50 pounds of potatoes in one column, right? So, you know, I'm not going to speak for James, but, you know, he may be able to be self-sufficient with his land there, right? I pray he is. But in Brooklyn, where most people have an apartment with no backyard, much less a front yard and a backyard, they're going to have a harder time, which is not to say that they shouldn't grow everything that they can, right? But we were speculating the other day about having, like, for example, these essentially little, you know, almost like little brigades of teams of people that go out and do installations of indoor hydroponics in apartments in Brooklyn, right? As a community service, as a gift, right? And if you have any trouble, here's the Zoom meeting, you know, 24/7. You know, just like, look, we can do a 24-hour block party, right? When it comes to everyone eating, there's going to be 24/7 support for indoor hydroponics. So if at 4 o'clock in the morning something's leaking and your cat got into it and whatever, hey, what do I do? You know, boom, oh, here, let me show you. All right, okay, got it. Here's what you do. Wrap it there, apply this over there, done. Right? A mini Apollo mission directed via Zoom, right? Plug the leak, whatever. So we become this, and this is the collective intelligence. I mean, so simple and yet so urgent, and now so imminently achievable. We're almost there, because this is undeniable that we need this network, right? Food healers. Okay, undeniable. So the kind of the initial phase that we've been talking about is just that, creating this collective intelligence among feeder communities and figuring it out, and preferably doing it in a money-free way, right? But that doesn't mean that we're, you know, that we're rigidly, you know, attached to that, right? Money's been around for 10,000 years in all these different cultures. Who are we to go to Japan and say, look, thou shalt do it this way? You know, come on, you know, that's for them to choose. And so, you know, I'm very clear on the on the absolute of plant-based. I'm not so clear on the absolute of money-free. I just got to say. And part of the reason I say that is, you know, I don't want to be one of the people who goes down in history as, oh, you know, why did everyone die of starvation? Oh, this crackpot Shively and a few others came in and they said there should be no money, and then everything fell apart, and then it's all their fault, right? You know, some systems may, I don't know, help me out, but I maybe I'm just down a rat hole that I shouldn't even be going down, right?
Well,
it's not really, you know, that's not really key. Yeah, go ahead.
I just say like that. I think that we discussed the money side of it anyway already a few times. Like, and basically, I think we all agree really like that there'll always be some form of economy. But just like the meat industry is starting to take care of itself, as we were discussing there last week as well, so is the economy in a sense. Like, it's like, I mean, I'm getting a great skit out of Guy McPherson's little 1-minute videos there every other morning. Now he's posting a video in the morning with his news updates, and it's only a minute or a minute and a half videos he's putting on. And he said it himself, he's doing it mostly for his own amusement. He's just reading a couple of headlines off the news, basically his stock market news, but he's making a very clear point, like that the world's falling apart. He's reading out some headlines, and then he's reading how the Dow Jones keeps going up, even though it's dropped by huge dramatic amounts in the last month alone. every day the market starts, it's back up again by a couple of 100 points. He's laughing at that because where's all those points coming from? False money being printed and pumped back into it, like. So it's they're running themselves into a deeper hole now by the day, and it's only a matter before the whole lot comes falling down around their ears. So that's going to take care of itself too. I think, like you said, we concentrate on taking the one step at a time. So we'll go with the food plan. The meat will take care of itself. The economy will take care of itself. We'll just concentrate on the feeding of others and getting the collective intelligence together. And the numbers will come, they're building up all right, because most people are using Zoom now more than even Facebook to communicate with each other. So it's only a matter of time before they start to clock on looking for other Zoom meetings to get interested or interesting conversations to get involved in. They'll find us all right. We'll put the word out. Sorry.
No, don't be sorry, James. Goodness, I think you're just being polite. No, I love what you're saying. Anyway, let's not go further down the money rat hole, but really focus on the food, and simply say that to the extent a community can do this as a gift economy on a volunteer basis, on a sharing basis, sharing of knowledge, sharing of food, sharing of hours, volunteering, etc. Sharing of expertise, like the hydroponics folks who come in and do the install for you. I don't want to learn how to do hydroponics necessarily, right? But if somebody wants to come do it, I'm be very grateful, that kind of thing. So to the extent a community can do it as a gift economy, it'll be more resilient, it'll be more this, more that, and I'm sure like gobs of books and studies have been done on all this, on gift economies, so that should come as no surprise. And then but don't push it much farther than that. Every community will find its own balance, and we're here to facilitate helping communities find their balance, find their all the solutions that'll work best for them. And if they have solutions and they're very happy with those, great, please share them with the world. We need to know what's working, right? So either you've got solutions to share, or you're on the market for solutions, or more commonly the case, both. So it's just kind of this really nice two-way street. This give and take, this exchange, totally open source, totally free, totally just sharing, and this love fest of feeder communities.
Do you know about the island Tristan da Cunha?
Sorry, so the who?
Do you know about the island Tristan da Cunha?
In what sea?
The island Tristan da Cunha in the South Atlantic. They had a volcano or an earthquake or something, some kind of eruption, back in the 1960s, I think it was. And at first, they went over to St. Helena, where Napoleon was exiled. At first, they went there. Now, St. Helena's under British rule. So eventually, the Tristan da Cunha people who were being rescued went to England, and they didn't know how to use money because they'd never used money, and it was a small community that money was not relevant, it wasn't part of their system. So anyway, everybody, when they went to England, they thought, well, once they found out all the benefits of this small developed society in England, that they'd all want to stay. Not a bit of it. They all wanted to go back.
Yeah, I mean, the money game is such a brutal game. The game of ownership, of dominion, all the terrible stuff that goes along with it.
It's horrible.
The addiction, it is horrible.
And philosophers throughout the ages, Pierre Proudhon, all these things, they've all said, property is bad. They've looked at it that way. And it's a lie that we cannot be motivated unless we're going to earn money. It's a lie, because we all do loads of things as hobbies and artistic things, knitting, lots of gardening happens, lots of flower growing happens, all kinds of things happen, lots of science that is never ever paid. It's just that this money system seems to run parallel to this other thing that's always been there, of people doing things, producing things for the love of it. It's just that the money system has become more powerful, and it's squashing. Look what happens in science when people have a good science. Dr. Ye, what did he say? In order to get paid to make his living, he has to do that. But what he really wants to do is this, saving the planet. But nobody's gonna give him a bowl of rice for doing that, you know. Sorry for my rant.
Don't be sorry. So love hearing from you. Goodness. Wow. Yeah. So now this is powerful stuff. I think the bottom line is that we have conversations about all these topics, just like we're having right now. Just open conversations. Anyone can join whatever conversation they want. That's all part of the network. You roam around, find your niches, right? Areas where you either want to contribute a lot because you're an expert in that area, or you want to learn. You know, it's all good. It's just this. You see how this new culture is just emerging just by talking about it. We're birthing the new culture by talking about it and by living and breathing it right here, right now. Right? Like if Benjamin happened to disagree with something I just said, he'd just raise his hand and say, hey, Jamen, I disagree, and here's what I think. Right? No problem. Right? It's not who had the idea or who has a better idea. It's about the collective birthing the best ideas, the best solutions, right? It's going to be so much fun. What this does is it creates a massive multiplayer game of 8 billion players. Here's the world, right? And how do we make sure everyone has plenty to eat? What a feel-good game. It's got to be the feel-good game of the millennium. And you know what? Oh, go ahead, Suzanne, Benjamin.
I was just gonna ask if there was any news today on the K-Mama app and how this relates to community of communities.
The feeder communities. I like that name. You know.
Jamie, welcome. Hey, Jamie, how's it going? All right, so we got a great question on the table here. Okay, just sending a quick text. But so the question is the K-Mama app, and what's the update on that, and how does that relate to this community of communities or this community of feeder communities, right? Communities that are feeding people, large or small. Okay, so I don't remember the details, so help me out if you remember the details. But the headline was basically that progress is going well on the development of the K-Mama app. They're now like testing it, and data is going into the database, and that's all very exciting. And you know, so that's what I got. That was the headline that I got. I didn't remember the details so much. Now, how does that relate to this community of communities? Jackie, did you want to? Okay. Welcome, Sai. Sorry, I didn't call on you earlier. And feel free to say hello, Jamie, too. And we'd love to hear from that little kitten you got there, Jamie. So if she's speaking, oh, she looks so cute. Oh my goodness. Sai, how you doing there? Yeah.
Yeah. Great to meet you all virtually, and this is my first time to one of these kind of meetings, so I'm just gonna shut my mouth until I get that going, so sorry for that. But I think with the current trend going on all around the world, I think like we need something like this, like, you know, to gather people and to empower people or whatever we can, you know. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, and hopefully one day I will get there, and so I can contribute from my end too. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Sai. I just want to say something while it's still in my head.
Sure.
I expect you all know about time banking, where everybody's the currency is the hour, not that you're a big shop professor and I'm a drains woman. You know, our hour is that's the currency. Well, I've just looked up. I thought there must surely be a time banking app, and from the quick search I did, there doesn't seem to be one. That seems incredible to me that there's no time banking app.
You know, there's got to be apps, and if not, we'll get it. We'll develop what we need. But I think your larger point is there's, you know, that in this network, if people like say they volunteer or contribute to this effort or that there's a way that they can simply be recognized for it. Like for me,
No,
you know,
Jamin, it's like currency. I've actually done time banking. I nearly had a job as a time banker, but it was too far away. They wanted to take me on, but I was too far away. They wanted somebody in the community. But anyway, I've done time banking, so I do whatever skill I've got, you know, somebody wants, and then I do an hour of that. And then for that hour, the local ballet theatre gives me 2 tickets. So this is the exchange system, but you need to have a lot of people like collective intelligence, have collective skills and lots of them for it to become a really truly viable currency.
well, I think we're fast getting there, because I think that may be the synthesis between, you know, do we allow money? Do we, you know, not allow money? Whatever. It seems to be that the synthesis is, first of all, not to force anything as a requirement, but just to say, hey, here's a solution that these communities are doing. It's a time banking solution, and it works like this, and it's working great. Here it is, just open source. Every community gets to choose. If you want to keep trading US dollars even after they're useless and the currency's going, go for it. You know, it's kind of monopoly money at that point, but if it makes you feel good, if it works for you, go for it. So,
well, I had a lot of difficulty today now trying to buy a new phone, and it's only one of these pay-as-you-go mobile phones, standard phone. I just wanted to get a new one, so because I was having problems with the other one. But I had great difficulty trying to buy that phone today. It literally took almost 4 hours before I managed to even leave the phone shop with the phone, and that was after bringing 2 people into the shop with me and all, because they wouldn't take cash. They only wanted a card transaction. I don't deal with a bank, so I don't have a card. So because the majority of my, like as I said, I don't have a lot of money, so majority of the money I spend is just on household bills every week, my normal household bills. And other than that, 90% of the money I spend is on food. Because everything else that I depend on, whether it's tools I need, whether it's work I'm doing or work I have to do, for the last number of years, I do all that on a bartering system. With friends or with people that I know. I'll work for them and they'll work for me. I'll do them something and they'll do something for me. They'll give me something. And I've been living like that for a long time now, like, because I don't have the money to pay out for different things all the time. Like. So it's not, I mean, it's only going back to the old ways, and it's a lot easier. But it's a difficult to shop without a bank account. So, you know, they're making it so difficult. Like, so, you know, bring on the old days.
So speaking about sharing some information, so there has been like one question back in my head, which has been bothering me for the past couple of weeks. So I have been thinking lately about what's the best way, like, because I know like a lot of changes are happening around the world. It could be like health wise or like food wise or like environment wise. So what's the best way that we can like practice, like so that we can make sure we can empower or like bring some awareness like among those people who are not aware of all this stuff going on around. Because I have like some couple of friends who are well educated, but they don't care about this because they think it's a myth. And at the same time, there are also like people who cannot have access to all these things going around the world. And yeah, so I've been thinking, what's a good way to start? Is it like to reach like rural areas and tell them to do some good practices, like what our ancestors have been doing, like so that they don't hurt the nature, like what the things are going around, or like empower like from the student stage itself, like reach out like community schools or something, and make sure like teachers or like whoever like the school organizations like incorporate like environment related courses, or make like people like eco entrepreneurs. People are not gonna practice something unless there is something like profitable for them, at least like in the initial stage. That has to be part of their life. In order for them to follow that, it has to be part of their life. So it's like a good way to bring up some kind of business what people can follow, which will bring them profits initially, but later on that will become like part of their life, which they can transfer to their kids. And by the end of the day, people will become more aware of the nature and stuff. So these are all the things like going on back in my mind. So I recently decided to enroll as like a part-time student like in sustainability leadership. So I have been like thinking about like what should be my major, how to start with. That's all the things. So any ideas are definitely welcome and very well appreciated, I guess. Yeah. I hope
Awesome, Sai. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
My question is clear, right? Yeah, cool.
Great. Thank you, Sai. Thank you. And you're welcome to the Collective Intelligence Block Party and to the conversation, the exploration. You're asking all the right questions, and we're a community.
Yeah.
Go. Yeah.
So I have been thinking about like what's the percentage of pollution, like what are the main reasons, and it's not a surprise that most of this pollution that's happening is because of these energy plants. Like when I say because most of these energy producing plants are run by coal, I mean governments have promised like that they want to turn them to like a renewable energy sources or something, but unfortunately that has not happened yet. But positive thing is like governments are moving slowly. But that's the large percentage, I guess, like 60% or something, or I'm not exactly 100% sure about the exact numbers. But and next comes like the transportation, which is a big deal. So and the other thing is like veganism, of course, like animal industry and all that stuff. So the other thing is like policy changes, like suggest government what are the good measures to take. But at the same time, when you are part of that one organization and you have to deal with like hundreds of other people, and in order for something to get approved or for the bill to get passed, it has to go through a lot of people. And there is always like a doubt that like there might be some part of like lobbying stuff what like people on higher level might do, in the point, like it doesn't really matter like whatever you do, because always if you're part of some organization, there will be always like some people on top of your head, your leaders, and then the politicians. And if it's like a good politician who cares about environment, then we are lucky. If not, I don't know if it really gives us like any advantage or something like that. So that's one part. But like irrespective of what country or what county or what state, if people like the leaders, I mean, if they think about it, I think things can definitely change. That's one part. And the second thing is, so lately I have seen this cool thing. So there's like one like regular car mechanic back in India or something like that. He has like created this device once you like attach that to like the engine, your car engine, your car emissions will be reduced by like 25%. And let's say like by like if something like some other organization or like some car manufacturing company, if they promote that kind of devices and if they improve and if they make that part of like the regular ongoing like vehicles which are roaming around the world, and if you think about like large numbers, and I think there would be also like very good amount of pollution levels like getting dropped down, or like CO2 levels or something, I guess. So, and good thing is like it's not like that before because a lot of people are getting educated, but I feel like because honestly I'm not doing anything what I learned from my college. I believe it's the same for most of the people too, I guess. But so if we incorporate like some of these important things which we need for the future, so yeah, that was back in my mind too, you know, like promote like those devices which are built by some of those like best friends around the world, you know, and make sure like other people get access to them, you know, and all those things. Yeah. Sorry, these are all the things. So I'm giving too much, but I'm like putting too much pressure on you guys. But yeah, if any suggestions that are in your mind, yeah, it's helpful.
Sure, sure. Well, one thing I would suggest, because we have a certain number of areas of focus that are very specific, that at the same time we see as absolutely crucial. And we see the present moment as an emergency in which certain emergency measures need to be taken at a planetary scale, and it's basically life or death. And so we're laser focused on that. So I would encourage you, Sai, to listen, to just, you know, listen and kind of pick up, and I'm happy to, you know, give a kind of a recap of the big picture. And then, because we've been at this for actually a number of years now, believe it or not, overall, and we're the result of different communities coming together and contributing to this block party. So a lot of conversation has happened, literally thousands of hours of conversation. So we're so with that, let me give you a little recap. I think that's a very healthy thing. And any questions or comments from anyone before I jump into a recap?
Yeah, I'd like to say to you, Sai, you might be interested to look into time banking. And there's a huge amount of information online about time banking. It goes back a long way, you know, hundreds of years, I think, and how it's used today. And if, you know, there probably is an app out there somewhere, but if there isn't one, if you're a techie, it might be good if you developed a time banking app.
Sure, yeah. I'll definitely consider that. Thank you.
Well, hi, Sai. Nice to meet you. I'm glad to see you here, boy. And by the sound of it, you have a lot of things going on in your mind anyway. A lot of things running around there in your head that you're worrying about, and you're in the right place. We're all here for the same reasons. We have all those questions going on, and that's what the conversations are about. We're trying to find out solutions for all these things that you're talking about yourself. So I'm sure if you listen to Jamie's or Jamin's you know, general rundown here now for you, you'll get a great idea what's going on. And believe you me, you're in the right place. So hang in there with us. Nice to meet you. I'm James, by the way.
Thank you. Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you, James. Thank you. Yeah, very well said. All right. So I'll start with a recap, and maybe I'll just kind of get through one single pass, and then we can maybe pass it around a bit rather than break it up. So probably take me about 10 minutes to give a good recap. In fact, why don't I do a fresh recording for that purpose? That way we'll have it on a concise recording. All right, here goes.